And then also, why don't you drop in why you're here today? So what you really want to learn about. We have Ashley here who's going to tell us all about travel hacking to the Olympics and beyond. So if you want to drop in, like if you're an expert travel hacker, if you're a totally novice travel hacker, all of that is okay. We're very excited for today. And I can't wait to hear what Ashley's going to say. But also, I wanted to just start with a bit of announcements. Let's see. Hold on 1 second. Let me share my screen. Can everyone see this? Okay, wonderful. So I'm Erica Vervo, and I help Matt run this community, which is for and by budget travelers. It's called the Nomadic Network, and we started at the end of last year with in-person events in 22 cities around the world, mostly in the US though. And it was going super well. We had a lot of chapters that were having multiple events, and then obviously the coronavirus happened. And so we switched to entirely virtual events. And it's been super fun because what we couldn't do in live events, which we can do now in virtual events, is bring people together from all over the world. So right now, Ashley's in California, I'm in New York City, and then I can't see the chat, but I'm sure you guys are from all over. And so it's just a really unique opportunity that the coronavirus has given us to be able to learn from and meet people from all over. So a few housekeeping rules before we start. First of all, you can feel free to turn your camera on. This is a community event. We love seeing your faces. And it's just, yeah, it makes it feel warm and fuzzy. You will be muted, but there will be a Q&A after. So if you have any questions as Ashley goes, feel free to write question in the chat and I'll take those into account, and then we'll have a little Q&A at the end. Also, feel free to use the chat to connect with other people here. Everyone here is of similar interests. Everyone loves to at least budget travel. So these are really great people for you to connect with. And also you can feel free to share your relevant experiences. So if someone asks a question and you want to answer it, go right ahead in the chat. That's what it's there for. Also, these replays are available for Patreon members at patreon.com/nomadicmat. So that's a fun little extra I'll tell you about on the next slide. But also, we are here to learn, satiate your wanderlust, and have fun. And as a reminder, our speakers, including Ashley, are doing this out of the kindness of their heart and their passion for sharing knowledge with you. So we're very grateful. And Ashley and I were talking, and she said she just loves questions. So if you have questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. She loves chit-chatting about travel, and this is just like her biggest passion in life. So we're really excited to have her here today. And then just one little last thing, we have an exclusive Nomadic Mat Patreon community, which for those of you who don't know what Patreon is, it's built for artists to get paid for what they do. And in exchange for a monthly amount, you get a bunch of different freebies or things that you can unlock. And so basically at the $5 level, you can get all the TNN replays. And then if you go up and up and up, you get things all the way up to free tickets to TravelCon. So we have books, guides, t-shirts, live Q&As with Matt, which are super fun because he answers just any random question during them, and lots of other things. So that's a really cool thing to be a part of. And if you wanted to support us and you found this valuable, these, while they're free, we definitely take time and effort to put them together. So if you'd like to support us with a one-time donation, that would be great. Matt@nomadicmat.com on PayPal. And that is all I have for you. I will stop sharing my screen so Ashley could introduce herself and tell us why she's here today and share with us all about travel hacking to the Olympics and beyond. Go ahead, Ashley, take it away.
Yay. Okay, I'm going to share my screen with you right away so we can just jump right into it. So can everyone see this? Okay, and then I have my screens on another side, so I might be looking this way, but I'm here, okay? So My name is Ashley. Today I'm going to talk about travel hacking, kind of like a high level kind of beginner stuff, how you can get into it. And then at the end, I'm going to give you some insight into how I travel hacked the Olympics this year that didn't happen, but how I did it, basically. Okay. So let's see. Today we're going to talk about a little bit about me, who I am, and why I'm talking about this. We'll talk about what travel hacking is, what's possible with travel hacking, how and where you can start, as well as an example of my travel hacking, right? I'm going to bring up my notes. 1 second. Okay. Hopefully they don't pop up on the screen here. Okay. So I'm Ashley. A little bit about me. I'm from the Bay Area, from the East Bay Area. So I'm closer to Oakland and San Jose than I am to San Francisco. The Bay Area is huge and takes 3 hours to get from one side to the other. I've been traveling my whole life, but only internationally since my early 20s. I've been travel hacking and accruing points since about 2013, both airline miles and hotel points, transferable points, which we'll get into, and loyalty and status at different airlines, hotels, and even some of the car rental chains. I first got into travel hacking when I was in graduate school. I actually paid my first semester with my credit card with the Chase Sapphire Preferred, which I don't recommend you do. I only did it because I was getting reimbursed through my company for graduate school. So I had the cash coming in. I said, oh, well, this is a great opportunity to get a huge influx of points with the bonus, and I paid for my first semester that way. I am also a contributor for Matador Network and Condé Nast Traveler currently. And my blog is called From My World with Love. You can find me at FromMyWorld.com. And my last trip was actually to Aruba a couple of weeks ago. It was incredible and I felt so safe. And if anyone's interested in how to get to Aruba and what to do there and what it was like traveling internationally, please let me know. I'd love to help you. And then my next trip is, who knows? None of us know anything right now, right? So what is travel hacking? Excuse me. So we understand hacking to be anything that we can do to make our lives easier. In the world of travel, hacking is using airline miles and hotel points to save you money. Oftentimes big money, depending on how you use those points. For example, when booking a hotel in Kyoto, I wanted to stay somewhere really, really nice. I wanted to stay at the Park Hyatt Kyoto, which is part of the Hyatt hotel brand, right? So Park Hyatt at the most is 30,000 points per night. Now, by transferring 30,000 Chase Ultimate Rewards points, my points went way further than if I had kept them at Chase and booked through Chase, if that makes sense, through their portal. I'll go into that a little bit later, but I hacked my way into making my points worth 3 and 4 times more than they would have been if I had booked them straight through Chase by transferring them out to Hyatt from my credit card. Okay, so there's lots of different ways like that. And the more advanced you get in travel hacking, the more you'll understand how you can move your points from point A to point B to get the most out of them. Let's see. You can travel hack by using points from credit cards, shopping through portals like airline portals, hotel portals, shopping portals. You can get points for restaurants. American Airlines, Delta, United, Southwest, they have like restaurant clubs. And you can sign up your credit card or your debit card. And if you go to these restaurants that are part of their club, you get extra points that way. There's just so many ways to get points. Also by flying and by staying at hotels, you get less points that way. You get way more by credit card hacking, but there's ways to get points in everyday spend and everything that you do. Yeah. So what's possible with points? You can stay at all kinds of hotels with points. You can stay at 2, 3, 4, 5-star hotels with points. For example, if you want to stay at a hotel, like I love Marriott, for example. Marriott has 30 brands. They have Courtyard Marriotts all the way up to St. Regis's, JW's, Ritz-Carlton's, right? Those are their 5-star brands, their luxury brands. You can stay there with points, right? It's just going to cost you a lot more points than it will cost you if you stay at a Courtyard. But the benefits of the other brands that aren't maybe the 5 stars, you get a lot more from them. So you use less points to stay at a Courtyard, but you're going to get free breakfast. You're going to get included internet. You're going to get free parking if you rented a car or you drove there. So there's just, you have to kind of weigh the pros and cons. You could say, oh, I really want to stay at the Ritz-Carlton because I know that the service is going to be unmatched and I'm going to spend 80,000 points a night for that experience, or I want to spend 25,000 points a night, stay longer, have my points go further for me, and I'll get more from them by getting free breakfast and all these other perks that come along with it, right? I'm also a family traveler, so for me, when I travel with my kids, Courtyards and Spring Hill Suites and those kinds of brands from Marriott are my bread and butter. When I go with just my husband or by myself, I want to go to one of the ritzier ones, and babies don't care anyway, right? They don't care. So they don't need to go to the Ritz-Carlton. Some premium airline seats. One of the best things that you can do is rack up points in one of the top 3 airlines in the US, right? The big 3, United, American Airlines, and Delta. Now, when you start to rack up points and you decide to, pool your loyalty in just one at first, you want to focus on just the one airline. For me, it was American Airlines, and I accrued like 300,000 American Airlines miles through flying and through credit card bonuses and credit card spend. Now, I personally don't like American Airlines. I think they're awful, but I was able to use half of my points to book on Japan Airlines to fly to Japan in business class, okay? So you collect the points at whatever airline has the best, the best alliance for you, okay? And I'll get into this a little bit later, but say you want to book your dream vacation to the Maldives, and you know that Delta Airlines has a partner that flies to the Maldives. Collect your points with Delta and then book it through Delta on that amazing airline that's going to get you to the Maldives, okay? And business and first class. And it doesn't have to just be business and first class. The same rule applies when it comes to premium airline seats, that the more you spend, the more you'll get, right? You can take 100,000 airline miles and book a business class seat, or you can take that same amount of miles and book 5 economy tickets, right? Round trip economy, right? It just depends on what you want to do with them. Airline credit for checked bags, in-flight Wi-Fi, food and drinks. This is one of the sleeper ones. When you start to get the premium cards, you start to get status in the airline, right? And some of the cards, like the Chase Sapphire Reserve and the Amex Platinum, they give you airline credit. So they have these high annual fees, but in return, for example, you get a $200 or $300 airline credit to use for booking travel, checked baggage, in-flight Wi-Fi, incidentals that come up with the airline that you don't necessarily expect to incur. You can use your credit cards or the status that you've accrued by earning miles to help offset those costs. Let's see, airline and hotel status and perks. So most credit cards, most of the hotel credit cards give you status, right? So at Marriott, I have automatic gold status for having a couple of credit cards. And then the more you stay there, the more status you get because you earn more nights, XYZ. But say you're just starting out and you've never stayed at a hotel before ever in your lifetime, and you have a Marriott Bonvoy credit card, you have status immediately. And with that status comes free Wi-Fi, which sometimes can cost you, $30 or $40 a day for Wi-Fi free, right? Sometimes you get free breakfast, you can get restaurant credits at their on-site restaurants, little things like that. And almost all of these cards are going to have an annual fee, but that's something you have to ask yourself, okay, is that $95 a year worth the free Wi-Fi? Am I going to stay at 2 or 3 hotels this year? Things like that. One of my favorites is airport lounge access, okay? So with the premium cards, you get the points, you get the miles, you get all these other perks, but you also get airline lounge access or just airport lounge access in general. You don't have to be flying a specific airline. And then once you do this, you'll be ruined. You won't be able to sit out in the front of the gate anymore because you've been able to go in and get free food, hot coffee, hot tea. Oftentimes they have wine and beer and other spirits to lift your spirit before a long flight. Some of them have showers and massages. It's an amazing experience and a way to elevate your travel experience that just comes from getting a credit card or comes from having some sort of status. You can do airport lounge access by getting a priority pass card. That's a travel hack, okay? Or by having a credit card, or by purchasing cash for like a business class or first class ticket. The travel hacking secret to airport lounge access, though, is the credit card or priority pass card, which I believe is $95 a year. They have lots of specials all the time, so it's never quite $95 a year. With that comes, you can bring in 3 other people. Children 2 and under are usually free. And you get to kind of get into an area where you're not supposed to be, you know? I always feel like I'm not supposed to be there, but here I am. And it's great. It's just a really nice way to like make your vacation start off really, really special. And then you have car rentals. So you can definitely use the points that are transferable to book car rentals. I don't think that there's a lot of value in using your points for car rentals other than to just completely offset the cost of having to pay cash for your car when you rent a car, okay? Also, when you get a credit card, most times they have car insurance already attached to your card. So instead of you having to use the car rental insurance or even your own car insurance, because you used your credit card, you're covered. You're covered pretty much 2 ways with your own insurance and the insurance from the card. Okay, so these are just a few of my favorite travel hacks that I've done so far. In 2015, my husband and I went to Thailand for New Year's Eve, or for New Year's rather, right after Christmas, and we actually spent New Year's in Phuket, Thailand, which was amazing. And one of the nicest redemptions that we had during that trip was the Hyatt Regency Phuket, and we were overlooking the ocean. It was absolutely stunning. A beautiful room, a beautiful spa, and I believe we spent 20,000 points a night, which at the time, Hyatt had a credit card. You got 1 free night at any Hyatt in the world. So we used that night and some extra points to stay there for free. My all-time favorite hotel in the world is a JW Marriott in Venice. We did that in 2017. It's on a private island. You have to take a private water taxi to get there. It has a Michelin star restaurant on site. They grow their own lemons and their own olives for olive oil. It's amazing. I never would have paid cash for this experience. I couldn't afford it, but I could afford it because at the time I got a Marriott bonus and the bonus was 80,000 points. And so for 2 nights, it was 40,000 points. So we spent the first 2 nights in Italy at this hotel and it was incredible. Worth all of my points, all of them, okay? And then the last travel hack that we did was Tokyo, Japan for the Olympics. So I'll get into that a little bit later. Okay, so generally when I'm suggesting how people get into travel hacking, I think of 2 different routes that you can take. One is you can decide what your next dream trip is and go from there, or you can just rack up all the points for your long bucket list of travels, right? And then you can say, okay, well, Marriott's having a deal right now in Rio. This is the time I'm gonna go to Rio. Or Delta Airlines is having a sale on redemptions. It's time for me to now go to Colombia, right? So you can just rack up all the points and then decide how you want to use them later on. I've done both. So the first one is if you decide to start with your dream trip, a few questions you want to ask yourself. What points redeeming hotels are available at your location? Okay, that's very important. One of the reasons why I love Marriott is for the diversity in their portfolio. So they have hotels all over the world, thousands of hotels that I can use my points at, and it's extremely likely that I'm going to find a hotel anywhere that I want to go. So, however, I was helping someone decide how they were going to pay for points, use points and miles to get to, I think they were going to Kenya. And so one of the questions I asked her was, okay, well, what part of Kenya do you want to go to? And are there hotels there where you can use your points at? Because if not, that's fine, but that won't be your strategy. Don't open up a new hotel card if you can't use them for this trip, right? Another question you want to ask is what airlines fly to your destination? So I would suggest, for example, let's use the Maldives again. You want to go to the Maldives. From San Francisco to from SFO to the Maldives, Let's say Delta flies there, straight shot, or one of Delta's partner airlines. So what you want to do is say, okay, I need 80,000 miles to get to the Maldives, round trip, one way, however you want to set up your trip. And I'm going to now start accruing Delta miles. I'm going to look into what credit cards I can open, how I can accrue them through shopping portals, through my everyday spend. How do I figure this out? Using all of Delta's miles to get to the Maldives. Okay. This is when alliances come into play, and they become really important. If you're flying into, say, South America, American Airlines flies directly into South America, but so does Copa, Aeromexico, Avianca. These are all airlines that aren't technically US-based airlines, but they have alliances with US-based airlines. So if I know I want to go to Peru and I can use Avianca, I don't know if that's true, I don't know if Avianca, but I want to use Avianca miles to get there, I'm going to accrue all of these American airline miles to use them to book Avianca, right? So the alliances are very important, and that's something that you can just do a deep dive into based on where you want to go. What other expenses do you expect to incur? There's food, transportation, entry fees, activities, things like that. There's a card called the Capital One Venture card, and I don't know if there are other cards like this one, but the Capital One Venture gives you a bonus, and you accrue points for every dollar that you spend, and you can use those points to offset all of these extra costs that you have while you're traveling. So train tickets that you can't necessarily use points for, sightseeing things, you can use your points to like get cash back, basically, to offset the fees or what you spent on that credit card later. And also, if you have one of these travel credit cards and you're abroad, there are no extra fees for using your card. If you're using a debit card abroad, you're going to accrue fees, right? I know someone who was posting, she was trying to be helpful, and she was posting how much she'd spent at her time in Mexico, and she had accrued like $15, $20 extra just in fees every time she used her debit card, which doesn't seem like much, but that adds up, you know, $3 here, $5 there, you know, when you don't have to incur those fees. And my last tip is that you design your trip to your dream destination around the possible points redemptions, right? Decide where you want to go and then decide how you can get there. The other suggestion that I have is if you have a bucket list like most of us do, and you just start to earn your points first, okay? So where do you start? My suggestion is that you start with transferable points, okay? So you can have transferable points 3 different ways, actually. I only listed 2 because I'm most familiar with these 2. Chase Ultimate Rewards, Amex membership points, and then you have Citi Thank You points. Thank you points, I think is what they're called. Citi is not that popular, but they're an option. I just find more value in Chase and Amex. So what are transferable points? Transferable points are points that you can send off to different places. So if you open a Sapphire Preferred or Sapphire Reserve and you get 100,000 Ultimate Rewards points, that's what their points are called, you can transfer them to Hyatt, Marriott, I want to say United and Delta. Delta at least was a transfer partner. Intercontinental, there's a bunch of places you can send your points to where you get more value out of them. So remember I said that I transferred my UR points to Hyatt so that I could use them to book Park Hyatt Kyoto. And I got more value out of them that way than potentially booking them through the portal at Chase, which is also an option, but it's just never really the better option that I found. And then Amex membership rewards actually has way more transfer partners even than Chase. You can transfer them out to Etihad to get to the Middle East and parts of Africa, Virgin Atlantic, Virgin Australia. It has a whole bunch of other places that you can transfer your points to. And in my opinion, also, they are more valuable when you transfer them out than if you book them through their portal. So choosing your airline. For me, deciding what kind of travel you want to have. If you plan to travel more internationally, then start designing your status and your loyalty around one of the big 3 airlines, one of the Uniteds, Americans, or Delta, because those have the alliances. Southwest is a game changer for domestic travel, okay? and as well as the Caribbean and Central America and Mexico. Southwest lets you have no change fees. You can check a bag. We know Southwest is just the GOAT. They're amazing, but they're mostly just for domestic travel. If you're thinking of more bigger travel and further travel, you're going to want to try and accrue your airline miles with one of the big three. And then your hotels. I've expressed my love for Marriott, but some people are more Hilton fans. So choose your Hilton and choose your Hyatts or your Intercontinentals. And then I just like to stick with it. You know, if I happen to stay at a Hilton for work or something, then I'll get my points for Hilton. Or if I have to pay cash for a hotel and a Hyatt is the best one that's available, then I'll get my Hyatt points. But as far as who I'm accruing the most hotel points with, it's Marriott for me because of the diversity in their portfolio, like I said. And then from there, you keep track of how many points you have. And then, like I said, you're keeping track of, okay, Marriott's having an amazing promotion to Mexico. Let's go to Mexico, right? Or Southwest is having a deal to Las Vegas. Let's go to Las Vegas, right? Things like that. So you can, instead of tailoring your points to the dream destination, you're just tailoring your dream destination to how many points you have and what you can do with those points. Okay, so I kind of went into this a little bit more, but how and where to start? I recommend you start with the Chase Sapphire Preferred because it has a low annual fee. It's only $95 the first year. And it's a way to get your feet wet with transferable points, which I find to be pretty valuable, especially if you're not sure how you want to spend your time and your energy quite yet, okay? Hotel, Marriott, because of their diversity in their portfolio. I don't get paid by Marriott, by the way. I wish, but I don't. They're just incredible. And then your airline, because of if you want to do more international travel, American, Delta, or United. And if you're more so domestic, Caribbean, Mexico, or Central America, Southwest is going to be where you want to go, where you want to start, okay? Okay, so here's my example of the Tokyo Olympics. The Olympics have always been a really big dream of mine, to go to the games and see it in person and just kind of be on that world stage and feel that energy, right? And Tokyo is going to be amazing. We know Tokyo is not happening this year. It's actually been rescheduled for next year. We're not going to go next year either. It's not going to happen for us. But I hope that someone does get some use out of this information that I have for you, okay? So this is what we were able to do. We were going to fly, well, 3 airlines. One airline, one way from SFO to Japan, which we used American Airlines miles for. And then from Japan back actually to Los Angeles on Singapore Airlines, which is one of my dream airlines. They have incredible reviews. So to do that, I transferred Chase Ultimate Rewards and Amex membership rewards to Singapore Airlines, okay? We were going to stay at mostly Marriott hotels, so the Courtyard in Osaka, the Park Hyatt in Kyoto, and then when we were going to be in Tokyo, we actually ended up having to pay for that in cash and a little bit of UR points because of, obviously, it was very, very busy and we couldn't find hotels with points availability. And then what we paid for with cash were our event tickets, the bullet train tickets, and then we would have paid for our food, other activities, and souvenirs with cash. But the key to paying for everything in cash on your trip is that put it all on a credit card, because I've already mentioned that you don't have to pay the fees when you use your credit card when you're abroad. And then you're using those points to accrue points for your next trip, right? You're always thinking about how can I keep making points? How am I going to do this next time, right? Travel hacking, okay? More specifically, okay, these are the numbers for what I did. It wasn't even that much. I was shocked. So I used about 120,000 Advantage miles to book 2 business class tickets one way. So that's 60,000 points one way. Okay, now listen, this is how I did this. So American Airlines has a reward chart, okay? So the reason why I decided to fly to do one way from here to there was because it was only 60,000 miles for business class at that time of year going from here to there. If I decided to go from Tokyo to SFO using Advantage miles, it was twice as much for that time of year. So that's another key, is looking at what the redemption chart looks like for that airline. I don't think Delta has a published redemption chart. I think they took it offline. I think I could be totally wrong, but American Airlines does have theirs available. So it was only 120,000 Advantage miles one way in business class on Japan Airlines, which is much better than American Airlines. The Asian airlines are incredible. Okay, the way they treat you, the amount of space that you have, you're just a lot more comfortable for those long haul flights. Heading back to California, we were going to fly from Tokyo into LAX, which was about 180,000 UR and MX points. So I knew the 180,000 Singapore Airlines miles to do this one-way trip back into California. And so I just transferred them both from UR and from MR, Ultimate Rewards and Membership Rewards, right? I combined them for a 90,000 point redemption for each person, also in business class. And then from LA back home, flying into Oakland, it was about 1,000 Southwest points total, right? So that's how I pieced together our airline. So we were flying premium cabins for, what is that? I don't know, 401,000 miles, right? Which seems like a lot. However, there's two of us. I had a credit card, my husband had credit cards. We were combining our points. That's another thing, is if you combine points with another person, you can each gain points through credit cards or however you're earning your points, and then you can transfer them to each other's accounts, okay? So I can transfer my Ultimate Rewards to his Hyatt account and vice versa. And then for the hotels, the Courtyard Osaka was about 80,000 points for 3 nights. As far as hotel points go, they also have different calendars where it goes up and down. So it's worth more, you have to spend more than you might hope, right? So during that time, it was very hard to get hotels in Tokyo that were affordable, as well as getting the points redeeming hotels. So we were spending a lot of time kind of in Osaka, and we were only going to spend time in Tokyo during the games where we had actual event tickets. So in Osaka, it was only 80,000 points for 3 nights. In the Park Hyatt Kyoto was only 30,000 points per night, which is a really great redemption because, like I said, if you have Ultimate Rewards or Membership Rewards points and you can transfer them out, you can have an amazing hotel stay for less than 40,000 points, which is less than you're going to get for even my beloved Marriott. So 60,000 points for 2 nights at the Park Hyatt Kyoto. And then the hotel in Tokyo we paid for with UR points, which was about $400 cash and about 20,000 points from Chase, okay, at that time. So let's see, and that's all I have. That's all I wrote. So I hope you have questions, but if you do have any questions we don't get to today, you can always email me. There's my Instagram and there is my Twitter. Yeah, so thank you guys.
Hello. Oh my God, that was amazing. Also, I'm so sad you're not going to the Olympics. You figured everything out so well.
I know, I did. That's why I was like, someone asked me how to do this.
Okay, so before I get to everyone's questions, like, did you actually book that? And did you have to get all your points refunded? Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that's another thing. And I meant to mention that when you book with points, you also are kind of ensuring that you get your money back or your points back when something goes wrong. Usually with American Airlines, there's a redeposit fee. I think it was like $250 or something, but they've waived all of that because of COVID. But you can get all of your points redeposited back into your account. All of my hotel points came back to my account. And even, I guess, because of what happened with COVID, I got all of my Ultimate Rewards points back from that hotel in Tokyo. So, and because of, COVID, I got all my money back from my tickets for the Olympics. So we didn't lose a dime.
Wow.
Yeah.
Pretty
and you can't get that usually, even if you book cash for a hotel, you can't get your money back sometimes. We know you can't get your money back for an airline, and then even travel insurance only does so much for you. You have to cancel a trip. So
right. And is that that's based per airline, per hotel, like what their cancellation policy is?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's amazing. Oh, I'm so happy for your points.
Yeah, me too. Definitely.
Oh my God, amazing. Okay, so we have a few questions, but if you have any questions, just feel free to pop them in the chat. We definitely have some questions for some beginner travelers. Mia's asking, for a brand new traveler, would you recommend the Chase Sapphire? And just to be clear, there's the Chase Sapphire Preferred and Reserve. So there's two different ones and they're very different prices.
Yeah, absolutely. Because that was my first card. So the Chase Sapphire Preferred has a $95 a year fee. The Chase Sapphire Reserve, I think, is $550. I think they raised the price. It's either $450 or $550 a year. So for a newbie traveler, I recommend the Preferred because you can transfer those points out. $95 is a little bit to play with, you know, kind of sort of. It's a much better than $450 you have to pay regardless of if you're traveling or not and using those perks. So
Also,
I prefer the Chase Sapphire Preferred.
Is the Chase Sapphire Preferred the first year? Is that waived?
Sometimes it is. I'm not sure if it currently is, but sometimes it is. Yeah.
Also, I was just looking up this card. I forget if the fee was waived or not, but they're doing an 80,000 point bonus right now. So I don't know if that ended today.
Oh, that's another thing. You need to make sure you're. So I watch these cards, right? Because I know what they can go up to. So sometimes, yeah, even the Preferred, is that the one you're talking about? That one might be at 80K right now.
Yeah, Preferred.
It's usually at 60. It's usually at 60. So if it jumps to 80, do it. Apply for it, right? You may not get it, but just apply, you know? And then if you don't get the card, say you don't get immediately approved, call Chase and ask them why. Right? They don't want to be asked why. They just don't. So ask, you know, what happened? Is there something I can do? Just want to check on the status of my application. And then like 9 times out of 10, they'll say, oh yeah, okay, cool, here you go. You're approved and your card's on the way.
Yes. And if you want to help your friends who travel hack, a lot of them give bonuses for people that travel hack. So whenever I was looking up new credit cards, I would just go on Facebook and say, who has the Chase Sapphire Reserve and who wants an affiliate, you know, affiliate points balance, because they'll give like 5 or 10,000 points to the person that actually told you to get this card. So it's a nice way to sort of help your friends out. And also then once you have the card, you can tell your friends and you could say, use my link so you can get an extra 10,000 for almost nothing for recommending something. Okay, so we also have a question that says, also from Mia, saying, how many credit cards do you have and how do you manage them all?
Yeah, so I'm not crazy about like having 30 cards. Some people have like 1,000 cards because they all have fees, okay? And if I'm not using them, then that's useless to me. So I guess total, I have 3 American Airlines cards. I did them just for the bonuses. One, I got like one, okay, but and then I have 2 more from Citi. Can you guys hear me?
We can now. We can now.
Okay. And my internet is unstable, it said. 3 American Airlines cards, 1 Chase Sapphire, 2 Marriott cards. Currently, I'm going to close one of them, and 1 Amex Platinum. And then I just got this Chase Sapphire or the Chase Freedom card for everyday spend for like groceries, because we're home now and we're spending a lot on groceries, and I wanted to optimize how I could get the most points for that, for those purchases. So I have 8 cards open currently. I only use 2.
Can you explain why you leave the others open?
Well, I decided recently that I didn't want to accrue any more American Airlines miles. I wanted to move my loyalty over to Delta. COVID has, the way that they've handled COVID, I'm not very happy with them. And also I think they're kind of they're not the best product. Okay, so I'm ready to switch over to Delta for the alliances that they have and the quality of their airline. And so I've stopped using that card. And then the Marriott cards, I just got them for the bonuses. So I don't need to use those anymore, and we're not going anywhere. When we go somewhere, I'll use those cards and I'll use them to book my hotel and get those points, right? The bonus points that you get. I'm using the Amex Platinum because I'm using that for all of my miscellaneous incidentals that are not groceries. So any bills I can put on that card, then I'm going to pay anyway, and any extra stuff like Amazon or pharmacy or whatever kind of things, I'm using my Amex card for to get those points as well because they're transferable. And because I have a Sapphire Preferred, I can use the points that I'm earning on my Freedom card as Ultimate Rewards points. If I get the Chase Freedom without one of these, the other two premium cards, travel cards, I can't use them for points. I can only use them for cash back. Does that make sense?
Does.
So right now, when I got my Chase Freedom card, they had a 5% bonus on all grocery store purchases in the first 12 months up to like $15,000. I'm not going to spend $15K at the grocery store, but up to $15,000, an additional 5%. I don't think that's 5 times, but 5% bonus points. And so those are basically more transferable points that I can use later.
Yeah, I really appreciate how you're like looking towards your goal first and then choosing cards for that. I think that's a really good idea. Is there anything besides Google that you use to figure out just what card to get when you need something?
Yeah, my two favorite places are the Points Guy, thepointsguy.com, and 1 Mile at a Time. 1 Mile at a Time is run by a guy named Ben. Oh gosh, or is it Lucky? I think his name's Ben. Is it Ben?
Ben Schlapling. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So those are my two websites.
Awesome. Also, I just wanted to drop in the link to Nomadic Matt's guide to travel hacking, because if this piqued your interest at all, we are getting quite a few questions about travel hacking in general. This really like breaks it down to the simplest level, but also if you're, starting from a sort of more advanced or intermediate place, this will like polish your skills. It's a really great place, and it's how I learned how to travel hack. And although it doesn't sound like I know much about travel hacking, I have a good 15 credit cards that would speak different, sing a different tune. And so I love travel hacking, and I just don't have it all stored up in my brain. I just always refer to that guide. So if that's something that you want. Okay, so Quinn's asking, any tips for getting event tickets to the Olympics?
Oh, yes. Okay, so I think the only way that Americans can get tickets is through CoSport, CoSport. And it's a lottery system. I don't know if they'll change it. I don't see why they would. But so we signed up back in, I would say, September, October of 2019 to get like kind of on their, not their wait list, but their email list. So they'll tell you when it's time to put in your event preferences. You can request what events you want to go to. So you want to look at the calendar. So from start to end, from the opening ceremony to the end ceremony, certain events aren't offered the whole time, right? So you say you want to go to the basketball, especially, there's different tiers. So for basketball, because they have rounds, you won't really know what round you might get tickets to, but you can decide on a level of like 1, 2, 3, which one you prefer to have. So number one, you want to go to the championship game, basketball game, right? So you say, and then in there they have tiers. So you have A, B, C, and D. A tier tickets are the most expensive for any event, and then all the way down to D. So for instance, for basketball, tier A might be $600 a person for that championship game, and tier D might be $120, right? So you can say, I would prefer 2 tickets in section A, which you may not get because lots of people want that. And then, or I'll take 2 tickets in tier D. And you can do, I think we were able to do 30 events or 30 tickets. And so I did mine and my husband did his, and we planned it out together because we're going together. But we put in for different events and different ticket tiers. Okay, and that's the first round. And then they tell you, okay, you either did or didn't get any of these tickets. And then they charge you for the tickets that you've gotten. And they do this like 3 or 4 times because they release more and more tickets as the year goes on. So that's how it works. It was a little confusing at first. And their website wasn't the most intuitive, but I'm pretty sure that's the only way Americans can buy their tickets.
Interesting. I had no clue that it was that complicated, but I guess once you figure out the system, you'll be fine. right?
Mhm.
Cool. Okay, so then we have a question from Sarah asking, do you ever stay at an Airbnb? And I guess, is there a way to hack an Airbnb?
Yeah, I love Airbnb because you get a lot more space and you usually spend a lot less cash. Right now there isn't a way to get points for Airbnb unless you use, you know what? I want to say that you can get points for booking an Airbnb, but you can't use points to book an Airbnb, if that makes sense. Because it's technically a travel purchase, you can get bonus points for booking it with like a Chase Sapphire Preferred, I think. But if you were to go that route, do you have the Capital One Venture? I don't have that card.
I have the Venture, but I think if I were to book an Airbnb, I also have the Barclays card, the Barclays US card, and that one is a different kind of travel hacking. That one you can actually erase your travel related expenses after you already buy them. So let's say you have 25,000 points, that equates to, let's say, $250. And so after you purchase your Airbnb, you go in a month later and you see what are the qualified expenses that I can erase, and you can erase that Airbnb because it's a travel expense. So that would be the only way I would know how to do that. But you could also do that with like train tickets and subway cards and stuff like that. So if there are expenses that you're accruing that are travel related, but you can't necessarily, like you said, actually book it with points, that would, oh, there you go. It's the same with the Capital One Venture. Yeah, that's awesome. So that's the only way I would know how to book an Airbnb, because I personally don't know about any Airbnb hacks. But
yeah, they don't have a reward system or a loyalty program yet. Right. I know that they've been talking about it, like it's been in the news a bit, but I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah. Or you could do this thing where you invite your friends, get $25 and sort of hack it that way. But that's not necessarily like the travel hacking we're talking about. But there's always ways. There's always ways. Alicia is asking, any thoughts about the loyalty program for Hilton? She's considering signing up to accrue points for a hotel stay. I know that you're a Marriott, but do you know much about
I'm a Marriott fiend. I don't know much, and I don't have anything positive to say about Hilton, only because I don't know much about it. And in my experience, it seemed like you need a lot of points to book with Hilton, but there are people who swear by Hilton. So I'm not don't listen to me, because I just don't have anything positive. But people swear by Hilton. They swear by them. They love them. They love the brand. I just don't. You should look up those websites and look up, like, Google Hilton rewards reviews, or like how to do it kind of thing. I just don't have any experience really.
Get that. So from Achilles, they're asking, do you recommend a card that can combine airline points, or do you know that one that does that?
Combines like different, you mean different airlines?
You're still on. Yes. The answer is yes. That, I feel like that would be more of the ultimate rewards or the MR, where you're not necessarily combining your airline points, but you're getting points that can go to many different airlines, right?
Yeah. That's what I think.
Otherwise,
if you're thinking of just one airline, it should all be in one place. If you're thinking about, like, if you and your partner have airline points in different accounts, I don't know how you can do that, but I'm thinking that you're speaking to different airlines, and in that way you would be thinking of the ultimate rewards or the Amex points, because you can then send those points to whatever airline you essentially want to.
So for example, if you wanted to redeem something on United, you could get a United card for whatever their bonus is, 60,000 miles. And then you could also get a card with Chase for 80,000 miles. And then you can move all your Chase points to United at a 1-to-1 ratio. So you would then have 140,000 miles in United. That would be an example of what that does. Okay. Let's see. Jen was just suggesting that you should apply for credit cards during flights because they usually have better bonuses than they do on the internet. So
They do. I think that's where I heard about that one. It was like I think it was a Barclay Advantage card for American Airlines. I heard about that on an airline. Yeah, on a flight. Yeah.
Awesome. And then Katrina was asking, do you have any favorite cards that allow you to use airport lounges? We've had really good experience, but have also found that they're connected to really expensive cards.
Yeah. So my favorite is the Amex Platinum, and I did a ton of research on that card before I got it because it has a very high annual fee. But if you get a priority pass for that like $95 or so much a year, you can also get access to airline lounges. The difference between the two, because you actually get priority pass also with the Amex Platinum, is that you don't get access to American Express's Centurion lounges, which are the top of the line lounges, which is fine. You don't need access to that just to have like the lounge access. It's just a very, very premium lounge. But you can get access to other lounges with the priority pass. And they have like 200 or something lounges in their portfolio around the world. So
pretty incredible. I have a very strange anecdote to add to that. When I went on a flight trip to Ecuador like 3 years ago, I went to an airline lounge and I had my priority pass and I said, how many people can I get in on this pass? And they were like, you just have to call your bank and ask them. And the bank didn't know. And so I actually got 28 people in under one pass. I took the whole group of students that had never been into a lounge before. And if you don't know about flight, we bring students from all over, well, students from one class in America somewhere else. And so they had really never been on planes before for the most part, and definitely had never been in a lounge before. And so it was a very unique experience. But I also think it was one of the catalysts for the maximum 4 people under one card.
Wow. Yeah, probably.
So sorry.
Like, there's this girl and she's bringing in 30 people. Oh my goodness.
What do you mean?
Wow.
How many people could you bring in? I was like, we're all on the same flight.
That's so funny. Yeah, I've only ever heard of yeah, up to 3 people, and then if your kids are 2 and under, then they don't count. So yeah, wow, that's too funny.
It was pretty hilarious. It also took like an hour and I had to sign so many papers. They were like, we don't know what's happening.
But they got that experience.
Yeah, it was really cool, really cool. And then Katrina's also asking, how did you feel about flying to Aruba during COVID? And can you explain about the precautions and what happened there?
Yes, definitely. So you need to have a negative COVID test 72 hours before your last flight. So for me getting to Aruba, I took 3 flights to get there because I'm on the West Coast. So my last flight was out of Miami. I Googled COVID travel COVID test, right? So that I was able to ensure that I was getting the right test, because there's a bunch of different tests that actually don't qualify. So I had to take the negative COVID test. I'm still very much social distancing. So I knew I was safe once I got my test back negative, that I wasn't like out in the wild and like interacting with people. So I had my test, I had printed it out. They asked to see my negative test at SFO before I got on my first flight. And before I could get to my flight in Miami, I had to sign up for something called the Ed card, which is like it's just a little process that Aruba has you go through, ensuring that you've gotten your test. They want to see it's essentially that card that you have to fill out when you get to a destination. It was just online. So when I got to Aruba, I had to give them my negative COVID test. And while on the island, everywhere I went, there were temperature checks, and you had to take hand sanitizer before you walked into any building. While I was on my flight, I had on a mask and a face shield, right? And I wasn't the only one. I thought I would look like a complete fool and be a little embarrassed, but I wasn't the only one on my flight with a face mask and a face shield. Because again, I have 2 little babies at home, and I was really scared I was going to bring that back to them. And then when I got home, I actually got another test the next morning. I went and got a rapid test done and got those results back in 15, 20 minutes, just to make sure I didn't bring anything back home. but I felt extremely safe. I think the hardest part, the scariest part of it was getting there because I flew American Airlines and they packed the plane. Delta, United, Southwest are not packing planes. And that's also like the last straw for me with American Airlines. But we also now know that airlines are actually, air travel is actually really safe as far as not transmitting COVID, not 100% safe, but much safer than I think a lot of us thought it was at first. So I loved it, honestly. And I felt safer out in Aruba than I do here, because people wear masks. There's just more of like a community feel. There's a lot less people on the island, right? So they look out for each other a little bit better than we do here. And yeah, it was great. It was a great trip.
Yeah. It's probably also, I mean, my assumption would be it's island mentality. If people get it, like everyone's getting it. So like,
yeah,
you want someone to get it. You want to be super careful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, very cool. Anything you want to say before I do some closing announcements?
No, I don't think so. If you guys have any questions, I love this stuff. So please, please, please reach out.
Oh, well, it was really great to have you here, Ashley. I feel like you shared a lot of your experiences, and people seem to be really eating it up and like learning a lot from it. So I'm so happy you were able to come and share that. And I hope that everyone on this call is just like, whether they're already travel hacking or they're new to travel hacking, you realize that like this is attainable. This is something that you should definitely be doing. And, you know, follow, I think what I'm taking away from you, Ashley, because I sort of do willy-nilly travel hacking because I'm one of these people that goes lots of places. But now I'm like, maybe I should really follow these goal places, like this Olympic style, like pinpoint exactly where I want to go so I can actually accrue the correct points and accrue the correct, now I need hotel points because I'm married.
Yeah.
I can't sleep on people's couches.
Yeah, girl. It's true. It's true.
But we actually 2 days ago had a conversation. How can we travel hack our way to Ghana? So we're in that mindset already where we don't want just like a credit card. We want the credit card that will help us. So, all right, let me share my screen really quickly. Let's see. Can everyone see that? Yes. Okay, perfect. All right, for those of you who are new to the Nomadic Network, thank you for coming today. And also we have tons and tons of events. I believe we have something like 1 or 2 dozen events on the website right now, and we put more up every single day. So that's at thenomadicnetwork.com/events. And we have some really cool stuff tonight. We have a travel happy hour, which we do for certain chapters that really want to have that community feel. So we have one coming up for Portland, Seattle, California, New York, and DC. So those are our 5 that are coming up, and those are actually very different than these. So they're much more interactive and they're much more intimate. So there's usually about 12 to 20 people on them, and we do travel discussions instead of like a travel presentation. So I encourage you, if you're in any of those locations, or if you know people that are travel obsessed and they're in those locations, it's a really great way to meet people around you, even though we're still virtual. And then tomorrow we have Nomadic Matt is going to be hosting an interview with Cash, the budget traveler, who has been traveling around Europe during COVID, obviously in a safe way, in a slow way. And he'll be answering questions about how he did that and what it's like, which I think is on everyone's mind. Like, what is happening now in the world? So hopefully that'll clear some stuff up. And then next Tuesday, we have Eileen and Mark, who are going to be teaching us the secrets of a successful YouTube channel. They have over 80,000 subscribers, and they are just talking about travel, and we can't wait to hear what they have to say about how we can have 80,000 subscribers. Currently I have 97. So I am looking to learn. Me personally, not Nomadic Matt, me personally, I have 97, so I'd like to learn how to up that. And then I just wanted to run through again. We have this exclusive community. So if that's something you want to be a part of, we would love for you to be a part of that. It's sort of a labor of love for us. We really love to put the content there and to interact with our exclusive members that are really like believe in us and want to be a part of what we're doing at the Nomadic Mat. Which includes the Nomadic Network. And if you, again, wanted to donate a one-time donation, that's totally possible. And so that's through PayPal, matt@nomadicmat.com, and we super appreciate it. We love putting on these events and we don't want them to stop anytime soon. So that would really help us. And last but not least, thank you for being a part of our travel community. This is honestly, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but this is one of the most fun things I do all week because I get to really learn. I get to connect. I love to see your faces. I'm like constantly scrolling through the faces to see like your reactions to stuff. So it's really nice. And it does feel like the closest I can get to community now that the coronavirus has sort of put us all in our own places. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you, Ashley, so much for bringing it today and for teaching us everything. And have a wonderful day wherever you are, or night. I know we have Colin in here from Hong Kong. I believe it's nighttime.
Yeah.
So thank you, Ashley. Thank you,
Thank you.
everyone.
Everyone have a good day. Bye.
Bye.